Hello, and welcome to Prevail Marketing's video for the day, where we talk about all things sales and marketing. We try to give you tips, tricks, techniques, and strategies that help you grow your business. Hello, my name is Bill Arnold. I'm president of Prevail Marketing. I'm happy to be here today to discuss with you the next phase of our discussions on buyer personas. For those who have been with us the last two videos, we started out by talking about what constitutes marketing sales success. Everyone has a different definition, but we think there's only one definition that everyone should have. Marketing success and marketing sales success, as we like to talk about it, constitutes one thing: substantial increases in customers, in revenue, and in profitability. All three. You have to have all three. Now, that doesn't mean you don't track lots of KPIs to get there, but you cannot go into the boardroom to talk to your CEO. Can't go talk to a client and say, look, we've got a lot of bottom of the funnel for leads for you. Aren't we great? That's not going to please them. They can't spend it. Next part we talked about is how you get to marketing sales success. It's easy to define it. It's a nice definition. It's much harder to get there. And the only way you get there is to have four elements. You have to have very talented people. I mean, people certified and proven to be effective in what they do. You have to have a process that's proven, refined over the 15 years, which we have, which we talked about. You have to have discipline. And when I say discipline, I mean discipline to make sure the client is willing to follow through with it. Because it's hard at the outset to let them sit back and gather all this information. Not that we're doing other things, but they need to understand there's a process that needs to be followed. And we need to have discipline to follow, and we do. And finally is reporting and verification of what you've accomplished. Those are the KPIs. As I said, we track 400 KPIs. We track every CTA, every landing page. We do A/B testing. We track the content. We track performance, everything. You'd be amazed what we track. 400 KPIs every single month for every single client. And the reason for that is we don't guess. We know it's working. We know what isn't working. We know what needs to be enhanced. And we know what needs to be done more of because it's working so well. That's how you get to be success. The next video is talk about buyer personas and the process we use to develop them. Again, we use the modified version of what Buyer Persona Institute uses. And we use modified because over the years, we found ways to enhance it, to improve it, to make it better. It involves interviews with stakeholders. It involves interviews with closed-won opportunities, new clients. And probably the most impactful interviews are closed, lost opportunities, because those are the ones you didn't achieve. Those are the ones where you're missing the point on something and you better figure out why. We talked about that process yesterday, and I'm going to go a little bit more into the process today. And I'm going to talk about what we do with that. So one of the things I'm a firm believer is that it makes no real distinction if the buyer persona is a man or woman, old or young, educated or uneducated. It doesn't matter to me. What I care about is what information each buyer persona needs to see at each stage of that buyer's journey in order to take that next step. If that same information distributed the same way gets them down that funnel, they're the same buyer persona at that point. And that's how I look at it. And that's how the Buyer Persona Institute looks at it, because they put up 3 rules. We're going to add a 4th about what you have to follow in creating buyer personas. I'm going to read these rules to you. Focus only on characteristics that tell you how to persuade the buyer. Obviously, that's what we just talked about. We don't care any of the other characteristics. Consider demographics during the final stage of persona development only if it impacts the information. Again, we don't care about demographics unless it's impactful. Build additional personas only when the difference impacts the buyer's decision. Exactly what we were talking about. The 4th one we added is focus on the steps they take to learn about solution and how they learned about you. Again, where they go for information, entertainment, third-party verification. That's critical. All the information can be spot on point, but it's not distributed where they're going to. It's of little value to you. So when we gather all this information, again, it's never an artificial construct. It's never pulling demographics out of the air and hoping that it's meaningful to somebody. It's always something which is going to get them to the next stage. We compile a lot of information through all those interviews, tons of information. But we have to put it together in a way that it's usable, practical for us and for our client. And so we don't put together the typical buyer persona sheet that says, here's Abigail, and Abigail has, is 35 years old, college educated, 2 kids. We don't put that together. We don't even call something by the name of a person, because it makes no difference if the name is Stan or Abigail or what the difference is. It's really going to be what their role is. So we'll talk about decision makers. We'll talk about internal influencers. So we may say decision maker for a B2B SaaS company. We may say influencer for B2B SaaS company, or influencer for healthcare company, influencer for a decision maker for healthcare company. We talk about the role. That's how we distinguish between each persona. So we put the slides together. We start putting our personas together. The first slide, the first 3 slides all deal with priority initiatives, success factors, perceived barriers, places of engagement, buying process, and decision criteria, the things we search for and talk about. So we put together the first slide. And by the way, I encourage you to go to my website to look at these slides I'm talking about. Go to prevail.marketing or prevailmarketing.com. Look at the blog that says Buyer Personas, Foundation of Strategic Marketing. You'll see what I'm talking about. I made a conscious effort not to show them on this presentation, because I know a lot of people listen to it while they're driving, and it can be frustrating where they're showing something and you can't see it. So everyone's going on the same playing field. Go to the website if you want to see it. But the first slide, the first part of a buyer persona, talks about the role, the authority, who they report to, decision-making responsibilities, if they have any, the top priorities, which means their pain points and concerns, what they need to address with them, and and the third thing is where they go for information and third-party verification. That is what the first page of the buyer persona looks like for each buyer persona. We've got 2 other tabs that follow it. Excuse me. One talks more about the pain points, but it talks about the messaging, how they describe that pain point, the exact words they use, the benefits of the solution, again, the exact words they use, the phrases they talked about, decision-making factors, we pull out quotes from them, and the research they conducted, again, pulling out quotes. If done properly, you're going to have a slide that talks about all the quotes and lines up with each of these categories. And it's very important to do that, because when a client asks you why you did or didn't do something, why you're making this piece of content, why you distribute that content over there, why the messaging is such as it is, you can point to these consolidated quotes you got from your buyer persona and say, look, there's a pattern. 80%, we're all saying the same thing. That's important. After that, we put together another report, a buyer sentiment report. The buyer sentiment report consolidates the information of each persona and shares it on a single chart. It talks about the persona, what stage they would be in the buyer's journey, what their goals are on that particular stage, what challenges they have at that particular stage, what marketing messaging they need to hear at that particular stage, what resources we have created, both sales and marketing, and how we're distributing those content throughout the internet. We then put together another report called Buyer's Journey Report. Buyer Journey Report looks at all the information we compiled, and it begins to identify for each persona at each stage, again, the key personas involved at, let's say, the awareness stage, or the interest stage, consideration stage, the purchase stage, retention stage, evangelistic stage. Who's involved? What personas have a role at that stage? The conversion rate that we've experienced of each of those personas. The resources we have used, and which ones are working better. We could put this all together, so we start mapping out all of our marketing campaigns. We can identify what is working. Again, I want to thank you for being involved today, for showing up. If this interests you, please show up tomorrow. We're going to have a totally different vein of what we're talking about. Please like, please subscribe, please follow, please share, please comment if you have something to say. So until tomorrow, thank you. I look forward to talking to them.